Yes, me too. Oh, I was thinking. So we don't have some more. What's one right there? I don't know if that means. White people. Good evening, everybody. How do you do? Good evening, everybody. How do you do? We are so glad. Oh, I love the echo. Come on, keep it. Everybody, how do you do? I'm harmonizing with myself. That's it. Do I need to add the third part? Okay, let's admit. Okay, so are we gonna have this the whole thing? Okay. Okay. Obviously, we have some technical difficulties, but those do not come to stay. They're only temporary. Obviously, we have some technical difficulties. But those do not come to stay. They're only temporary. It's this, isn't it? It's what? Oh. How do I? There they are.
Let's see if this is the same.
Okay. Problem
Okay,
solved.
problem solved.
We were, yeah, I didn't realize it.
Oh, that's what it was.
Okay.
Okay, I just thought that we were gonna get I thought I was gonna be able to harmonize with myself this evening. Do some three and four part, add a fourth part if we needed to. But good evening, everyone. I am so glad that you are here. I am speaking on behalf or conducting this meeting on behalf of our president, who is not at the meeting tonight. But we miss her. We love her, of course. But I will be helping to conduct some of our business and getting us started in this meeting. If you are sitting in the back, we ask that you move forward. Thank you. Because we want to see all your lovely faces. Thank you all for being here this evening. I want to first start by reminding us of some things. First, we have our NAACP Freedom Fund banquet coming up November 15th. That is Saturday, November 15th. Here's what's so cool about that right now. The tickets are on sale at a discounted price. So you can get discounted price tickets up until October 1st. And after that, you're going to have to pay full price. We don't want that for you. So go get your tickets right now. Like, right. What are you doing? Why are you still sitting there? Go get your ticket. Get your tickets as soon as you can because you're not going to want to miss this. You are not going to want to miss the Freedom Fund Gala this year. It's going to be incredible at the Spokane Convention Center. We're expecting about 500 or more people to be there. And so it will be pretty tight in the room, but of course, we love each other. So that's okay. We will all be okay. We also want to take a moment to acknowledge our executive director in the room. Thank you, Dr. Mace, for being here. Yes.
And I also want to give 2 minutes to our committees. If you have anything that you want to share before we jump into our meeting tonight. So in the room, we have our civic engagement. Pat, if you would like to share really quickly about the upcoming candidate forums.
Yeah, I would like to just take a minute and just remind everybody that we have 2 forums coming up. We have one for municipal court candidates, which should be very fascinating. And it's right across the hall from here in the auditorium. And that'll be next Thursday. And it's from 6 to 8. And we're always looking for more support, especially from some of the youth council that might want to come and just even just watch or be a greeter and greet the candidates and that kind of stuff. And then in October 15th, a couple of weeks after that, we're going to be doing the city council, and then we'll have 6 candidates up on the stage that will be interviewed. And again, a great opportunity for many of you guys want to come in and participate at whatever level you want to, or just to come in and listen. That type of thing would be kind of nice. So those are 2 things that we have on schedule. And then on Monday, this Monday, we do have a voter registration drive. I can't remember the name of the place that's in the Hilliard area. Yeah, Northeast Community Center. So if you can make it out there, I believe that's around 4 o'clock, something like that. So that's kind of what the Civic Engagement Committee is working on at the moment. Thank you.
All right. I know that we don't have anything from our Education Committee. Healthcare Committee, are you online? No? All right. Okay, well then, we're gonna give you a mic so we can all hear you.
Yes, I'm on the healthcare committee. I wear several hats, but anyway, there's a body and soul health fair Saturday at the MLK Center from 10 to 2. Is that correct? Yes. So please come, drop by.
Okay. And then any other committees that I'm missing? Civic, no, that's not civic, that's criminal justice.
I don't see Rick, so I'll at least put out the public announcement that the Building Restorative Communities, which is an initiative of the Criminal Justice Committee, is having an event Monday at the Cheney Library, and that's going to be on circle processes. And then a week from this Saturday at the Spokane Valley Library, there's going to be another public event open from 2 to 3:30, I think that is. And that'll be on the Little Book of Restorative Justice. So if anybody wants to attend, and then we've got more planned for October.
All right. Any other committee? We good with committees? All right. And then I also want to just take a moment to acknowledge, just simply acknowledge our vice presidents. We have Curtis Robinson, who has joined us online. And then we also have Quentin Baker. Is he online? All right. So thank you to the both of you for being here. And without further ado, we are going to turn it over to our youth council, who will be running our meeting this evening. So can we give a round of applause for our youth?
Yes, I'll do. Where's my remote? Good evening, everyone. My name is Jada Richardson. I run our social media accounts. Make sure to follow. And I'm a rising senior at Eastern, and I'm a part of the youth council. And tonight we're going to be presenting on gerrymandering and redlining. I'm going to give time for the other officers to introduce themselves as well before we dive into everything.
My name is Annabelle. I am the Vice President of the Youth Council. I'm going to be speaking about gerrymandering today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alsada Bakana. I am the treasurer for the Youth Council as well as a grad student at Eastern currently.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyla Holt. I am the president, and I'm so excited to be here today I'm going to be going over redlining.
Hi, I'm Maya Jefferson. I'm a senior at West Valley and I'm secretary for the youth council.
Or do you want to introduce and then pass it to us? Yes.
We have a full agenda tonight. Should be very educational. But we're gonna start with a little surprise. So this presentation is called The Lines That Divide Understanding Redlining and Gerrymandering. The goal of this presentation is to be interactive and engaging. So at the end, we're gonna ask for questions. We're gonna talk about definitions, show you what gerrymandering looks like. So yeah. And up first, we have Jerry and Amanda Stay Rich.
Jerry and Amanda. Oh, cute, cute. Whenever you guys are ready, let us know a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Jerry. I like fishing, acting, and money. I'm from North Carolina.
And I'm Manda, short for Mandering. I like shopping, acting, and also money. Same home state, North Carolina. And we're besties. And today we'll be auditioning as two rich politicians scheming to stay rich. Jerry, I love being rich in politics, but if the president of America leaves office, how do we stay rich forever?
Take away healthcare.
Nah, we already did that in North Carolina. Plus, we need to keep at least some workers alive.
Cut education. That's bound to make us a few millions.
No, no, no. We're beating a dead horse. They gotta at least read manuals. Wait, I've got it. The oldest trick in the book. Have you ever heard of redistricting, my dear friend?
You mean partisan gerrymandering? Amanda.
Jerry,
Amanda.
it's perfect. No one really understands that and reading comprehension is already declining.
Okay. But show us how you do it.
Great plan, truly, Amanda. But seriously, how do we make this happen?
Easy. Take North Carolina. Normally, districts reflect the people's votes, right?
I mean, right, that's democracy.
So boring. Instead, we split voters into different districts so they lose power.
Ooh, crack them like eggs because they're about to get fried.
Or we pack them. Stuff them all in one district so their votes don't matter anywhere else.
Genius. Our whole state leans for Lubricant, no matter what people actually want. It doesn't even matter how much the president of America messes up. We'll be rich.
And thanks to states like Flexus, we don't even have to wait 10 years to redraw the lines. Every 5 years, baby.
We'll stay rich forever. It doesn't matter what states like Illinois or California threaten to do to us, because in both cases, citizens don't even care or vote in local elections anyways. So
You got that right, pal. Not even an NAACP youth council could stop us. I love our capacity for evil. Rich besties for the resties.
Wow, terrifying but hilarious.
You got the part. See you at rehearsals tomorrow.
Take a bow, take a bow, take a bow.
And then Annabelle, here you go, ma'am.
Whoa. As we just briefly went over with Jerry and Manda, the definition of gerrymandering is simply just manipulating congressional bounds so that you can favor one party over another. It makes it easier for one to win over the other. It's also important to notice that racial gerrymandering was made unconstitutional in 2017 in a case in North Carolina. Sorry. Okay. It's important to know that the term gerrymandering came from Elbridge Gerry in 1860 or 1813, I believe. He was the governor of Boston and wanted to keep power. So he started shaping a district in the shape of a salamander in order to keep his party in power. It did work, but now everyone remembers him for the name gerrymander. There's two main methods of gerrymandering, being cracking and packing, as we did go over. Cracking typically breaks a voting group up so that they don't have as much voting power. Packing is the opposite. They can either pack them up into one area or they can pack all their supporters into one area so that they can have more voting power. There are two other less commonly known forms of gerrymandering, known as kidnapping and hijacking. In kidnapping, it's removing a representative from their congressional district when you're redrawing the lines, i.e. in Texas right now, I believe they're removing 3 representatives from their congressional districts. And hijacking is combining 2 districts so that the representatives that were representing those have to fight against each other so that only one win. The Princeton University has a gerrymandering project which rates every state based on different grades. These are the ones that are graded the lowest. North Carolina being graded an F with a Republican lead since I believe 2010. They've led it. They keep 10 out of, they're guaranteed to win at least 10 out of 14 districts. Sometimes it can be more, up to like 11 districts. In North Carolina, they're known to split cities such as like Charlotte, Durham. They're known to split those between separate districts so that their power isn't as strong. In Texas, if you see the smaller picture over there, that is, I believe that is Dallas, Fort Worth. Texas has a very strong Republican lead right now. It's very hard to combat it. They're currently hijacking multiple districts and kidnapping with Jasmine Crockett. They're trying to remove her position. Joaquin Castro, they are also trying to remove him from his district currently. In Illinois, they're actually a Democratic-led state that has heavily gerrymandered, and they have always found a way to get at least 14 out of 17 state or seats. And then that's for gerrymandering. Kyla's coming up next with redlining.
So while we wait for Kyla to come back, before we proceed to talk about redlining, we just want to hear from the audience. What are your takeaways so far? Whether from the Jerry and Amanda Stay Rich skit or from what we just heard from Annabelle regarding gerrymandering. We'll give you a few minutes maybe to reflect first before we circle back or come back on group discussion. Okay. Cool. See, I appreciate having time to reflect first because I feel like facilitators don't ever do that. So take a couple moments to think to yourself, and then in like a minute, you'll talk to your neighbor. Actually, we're going to mix y'all up because I know you're sitting by the person you love so much, and we want to make sure, right, that you interact with people you don't see every day. So your minute is up. Hopefully y'all was thinking while I was talking, and we want you to introduce yourself to somebody that maybe you don't know or have an opportunity to see
on a regular basis. And then once you introduce yourself, we're going to come back and hear what your takeaways are about gerrymandering. Got it? Cool. And then those on Zoom, how many people do we have on Zoom? We have a lot of people. So funny. Right, go ahead and finish your wonderful discussions, and then we're gonna hear what y'all gotta say. All right. Clap once if you can hear me. Clap twice if you can hear me. Pat, now I'm gonna call you out because you still talking. Ooh, all right, y'all. All right. So, oh, thank you. So we want to hear what y'all were talking about in your groups. So who wants to share? And do we have a microphone runner? We do. Who would like to share for the room what, great discussion y'all are having about gerrymandering? Go ahead, Alsada, with the microphone, please.
Something that I brought up in our discussion is not quite understanding how or why certain lines are drawn in certain districts. Like, I don't understand how they can get away with that, like what the reasonings are for some of those cases. But that's a big question. So I was just speculating. Yeah.
Do we have any responses to that question? And I just want to offer in the space that we know none of us are experts, right? We're all here on this learning journey together. And so it's okay to not have the right answer. We're here for discussion and to get to know and learn more about one another and this topic. So just want to offer that. But yeah, does anyone have anything in response to Alsada's question? All right, no worries. Okay. Did you want to share, Madam VP?
Well, I was just going to say, I think that when we get into the next topic of discussion, that's going to answer some of your question. And with the gerrymandering, there were some very good points brought up by Jane Brenneman and then Daphne, who is also in our group. And Daphne brought up the very important point of the idea that everyone's vote matters. That begins to get stripped away the more systems that you create. And then this also brought up another system, which is the Electoral College, that we also have to think about and kind of overcome the political structure that has afforded this manipulation to happen. And so with gerrymandering, who are your friends? It's like I can create some space for my friends and the people that I know will like me and vote for me. And so that it's disheartening to see that because then it does as it feels like the democracy that we preach about, speak about is not really a thing.
Right. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry because I was in the bathroom, so I might not have heard all of the of Annabelle's beautiful slides, but I just wanted to bring up something that I saw online because I feel like I understand and I know and I see a lot of like the typical like gerrymandering and like how that works. But something that was brought up online that I saw is that another form in a way that politicians and people weaponize like gerrymandering is how they in because mostly rural areas, that's where we see like our prisons and things like that. That a lot of politicians or people push for, them to pack that area. So, because typically people within prisons, they don't necessarily have a vote. I mean, some of them, if they're felons or, it's just harder when you're in jail or prison to be able to vote because they make it hard. So it's like that's a way that a lot of like certain um certain politicians and stuff, that's how they are able to get away with that, but sneakily in a way, I feel. And I feel like we should talk more about that, especially because I know that there's a big push for like prisons and more prisons and like privatizing prisons and stuff like that and pushing certain agendas. So I feel like I just wanted to make everyone aware of that because I was just made aware of that.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm kidding. Is on. Yeah.
Yes.
Also, piggying back off of what Kyla said, I think when we're talking about issues like gerrymandering and redlining, and we'll get into it more about what that looks like on the local level, but also thinking about that, our federal prison is located in Walla Walla, which is central Washington. Some people in Eastern Washington will claim it, but that holds a lot of individuals who are coming from rural communities, other places nationally. And so what does gerrymandering look like just 2 hours away? Because it exists and permeates all of our spaces. And so I think that was a good point you made.
Thank you. Would
Do we
anybody
have-
else like to share?
Yeah. Do we have one more person who would like to share? Thank you.
As I've been paying attention to what Texas is doing, I've been wondering what they're doing assumes that everybody who lands in a red district is going to vote Republican. But what if people are so fed up that they switch parties and it backfires?
Ooh.
Don't know,
We got to make that go viral.
but I wonder.
Do you want to say more? Jada?
I feel like also to mention that is a lot of people in areas where they where they're the minority party, they like to register, like if you live in a Republican area, they like to register as Republican just so they can like vote in the Republican primaries. People do that so they can pick, either or which one they feel would be better suited. But that could be add to that, yeah.
Another strategy.
Well, just what is your name, by the way? Miss Jane. Okay, figuring back off of what Miss Jane had said, Spokane is a good example of a city that has been redlined and redistricted and gerrymandered. However, the idea to concentrate conservatives in one area, ultimately, as we see and as time has progressed, has backfired. We see that with city council. I don't know if we'll ever see that in the county. We may never. But also our cities turned in sort of this purple area in Eastern Washington. So it's not necessarily blue, but we're getting somewhere. And so I think that's also like thinking about like Texas and how that may backfire on them. We live in a city where we're kind of seeing well, we don't know. We're like on the wall, on the fence about it, but that may potentially be us as well.
Great point, Jada. Thank you. Well, thank you all for such lively discussion. At this point, I'm going to call up Kyla to talk about redlining.
April Eberhardt also left a comment about the census. So think about that too.
Hi, guys. To start off, let's break down exactly what redlining is and where the term comes from. Redlining was a practice started in the 1930s where banks and the federal government refused to provide loans, mortgages, or insurance to people living in a certain neighborhood. These neighborhoods were usually Black, brown, immigrant, or low-income families. The term redlining comes from the color-coded maps they used. If an area was outlined in red, it was considered too risky, no matter how hardworking or financially stable the people living there were. Now that we know what redlining was, let's take a closer look at how the system actually worked in practice. The government created these maps through the Homeowners Loan Corporation. Neighborhoods were graded from best, which were usually white and wealthy, down to hazardous, which were marked in red and usually housed Black, brown, and immigrant families. Once a neighborhood was redlined, families there couldn't get a home loan. That meant they were shut out of opportunities to buy houses and build wealth. At the same time, white families in desirable neighborhoods were supported in buying homes and passing that wealth down to future generations. Understanding how redlining worked helps us see why its consequences were so devastating. Let's talk about its impact it had on communities. The impact of redlining was huge. It reinforced segregation by dividing cities into wealthy white neighborhoods and poor minority-filled neighborhoods. It also created a racial wealth gap. Home ownership is one of the main ways American families build generational wealth, but Black families were systematically excluded. And it didn't stop at housing. Redline neighborhoods often had underfunded schools, fewer grocery stores, and more environmental hazards, and less investment overall. So the effects permeated every part of life. We've seen how redlining works and the damage it's caused, but the story just doesn't end there. Its impact still shapes our communities today. Redlining was officially outlawed in 1968 with the Fair Housing Act, but its effects didn't just disappear. Even today, many neighborhoods that were once redlined still face higher poverty rates, worse health outcomes, and fewer resources. Meanwhile, the wealth gap created by these policies continues to shape opportunities across generations. With that background, Jada will now show us how these same practices shaped Spokane's neighborhoods and how their effects are still being felt today in our city.
Back. Yeah. So as Kyla said, I want to go back to the definition of redlining. Kyla talked about how redlining is a discriminatory practice. And what that looked like here in Spokane, we had covenants up until, these are housing covenants, which told families where they could and could not live, where it was acceptable for them to settle, and where it was unacceptable. But we had covenants actually till 1969. So that's fairly recent in like grand scheme of things. But in Spokane, what that looked like is Black families, brown families, immigrant families were concentrated to particular areas. So raise your hand if you know what a historically Black neighborhood in Spokane is. Raise your hand if you know one. Miss Faye? Yes. Okay, that's yes. Lower East Side, East Central, Fifth Avenue, those are historically, well, what we would identify as historically Black neighborhoods. Hilliard is also one. Hilliard gets left out of this conversation a lot, but Hilliard is also a neighborhood that Black families were concentrated to a lot during the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then when more families started migrating here from the South. So what that local impact looks like is in East Central, families were living there while their neighbors up the hill were receiving the investments and the financial backings from the city. So if you drive through these neighborhoods, with the exception of gentrification in Perry District and what we're now seeing in East Central, you see a noticeable wealth gap between what I would say maybe Freya, going up Freya, you start to see the wealth gap. Does everyone agree? Like, if you disagree, please let me know at the end, because I can research more, okay? And with that wealth gap, there came the building of I-90, which, as we know, displaced several Black families, prominent families that had inhabited East Central for a while. And I also want to note that East Central post-settlement was inhabited by European settlers. So there was a large immigration population as well. I don't want to discredit that experience also. So with the building of I-90, we saw displacement of families. We probably all know an individual whose family was displaced by the highway. The lasting impact of that is what we see now. Families have missed home ownership opportunities. They've been forced to sell their homes. They've had to move schools such as Sheridan, what's now known as Francis Scott. That was a school for several, I'm not gonna call them old, but old school aunties, uncles. They went to school on the east side. They were displaced. A lot of their families ended up at Rogers High School and in that Hilliard education pattern. So that's one of the most prominent things that we see with redlining in Spokane. We see areas that we know are historically Black and important to our communities. However, we don't see us in those areas. Why this should matter to us. Imagine you have a home. Imagine you have a home, right? And one day somebody says, you can't live here anymore. So you're forced to move and you see everybody else living in your house. Like, get out of my house. This is not your house. This is my house. Like, I live here. That's how we should look at the impacts of redlining. People, families, communities, they inhabit these spaces. They have homes and they're forced to move due to, what did you guys call them? Evil desires, evil ways, evil practices, evil capacities. They're forced to move due to somebody's evil capacities. And it's also important to note every act that's happened within redlining and gerrymandering, some of those were not evil desires. Some people genuinely thought this is hence the salamander. He probably thought, wow, this is really clever. Like, who's going to make cities into a salamander? However, we deal with the consequences. And so that's just what I want to leave us with. I think sometimes in Spokane, I'm a Spokane local who's just now starting to, say that I like the city. So now I'm a historian. I think it's important to remember the history of our city and know that even though we're not Seattle, we're not Tacoma, we're not Snohomish, we're not Issaquah, we are Spokane and we are living these real life issues as well. So we're going to conclude on that. I think Kyla has some questions. We're going to do some discussion. Do we have?
Before we get to questions, I see that April has her hand raised. April, go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Unmute her or can she talk?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me? No. But
I
you
can't-
have subtitles.
Oh, well, something I learned in Atlanta also
I can't. Oh, well.
is
1 second, April. Hold on. Okay. April, if you don't mind, we're having technical difficulties with hearing you in the room. If you could just type in the chat what you're going to share, then I can read that off for everybody. While you're, oh, right here. Oh, and now these communities across the nation are being. Oh. Well, y'all can see that. I saw the message. Yeah.
These cities going across the nation are being gentrified. Can you just text it, honestly?
Okay. While we're waiting for that, go ahead and you have some discussion questions for us, right?
something that I learned in Atlanta also is that when our Black neighborhoods have
Okay, so we're gonna mix it up a
been
little bit. We're gonna
subject
I'm
of
gonna
urban decay,
read some
a
questions,
lot of
and then
property
if you
doesn't
feel
properly
like
get
you
passed down
wanna
because of a lack of knowledge about
provide us with
wills.
an answer,
And this
just
actually
raise your hand.
happened in my own
So our
family.
first
My great
question
grandmother's
is,
home
when
was
you
torn
look at
down by the
Spokane
city
today,
because
where
a
do
lot
you
of
notice
times
differences
the
in
elders,
resources, whether it be through schools,
there's a lack
parks,
of
grocery stores,
passing down
housing? Do
property
you think any of these
properly.
patterns
And in
Connect
Atlanta, my
back to
cousin drove
redlining?
me through a community that was once a Black neighborhood. Now those properties are being seized by the,
The VP said, of course.
Of course, okay. So we noticed that those patterns. Would anybody else like to speak on it? Like, it could be even like, I'm not too knowledgeable about Spokane because I just moved here 2 years ago, but like maybe even I'll give it to you next.
I think one way you can see it is if you look at the areas that have lots of trees and lots of foliage and the areas that don't have trees, and the amount of temperature difference, especially in the summertime, is noticeable. So I think that's another impact that comes from redlining.
Also, it's important to note, picking back off of what she said, the South Hill, I would say you see more trees on the South Hill in comparison to neighborhoods like Hilliard, West Central, West Central. Climate change is a big part of this conversation. 99203, their life expectancy rate is higher than anyone else's in our city. If you live in the 99203 area code, if you live in the 99202 area code, that increases your life expectancy. So with the building of all these houses, and I don't know what Spokane's trying to do, but with all this construction, basically, redlining and gerrymandering has shortened the livelihoods of Black, brown families, immigrant families who are forced out of their homes. So realistically, it is killing us faster and not softly. It's not killing us softly. Right. Right.
No, I forgot.
Would anybody else like to make a comment on it, on the question? Huh? Oh, and I can repeat it if you would like. I can repeat the question real quick and then get it over to Ms. Faye.
Okay. I just wanted to say you can go anywhere in the United States and see this. I'm from Philadelphia area originally, and I saw it when Interstate was being put through, because it did that there. It went through the Chinatown downtown. Same with Spokane when they did Riverfront Park, that used to be Chinatown here. So this has been strategic nationally, not just Spokane.
Wow. I actually did not know that. Thanks for giving me some information.
I was just going to add here in Spokane, like I've noticed like certain schools, not only elementary schools, but high schools have like reputations of being like a good or bad high school. And I think that usually correlates to like the neighborhood that they're in and the amount of funding that they get. So yeah, just off the top of my head, I think of Gonzaga Prep versus like Rogers, literally. So yeah.
All right, thank you. I think we should just transition to our next question. Do you think Spokane still feels the impact of housing discrimination? If so, where? Would anyone like to take this one?
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious, especially for people who are in the education field, so we have redlining that affects housing, other availability of areas that are more tree covered, but what is the impact on the education system within those areas?
Please. Make sure you mention that. Make sure.
So currently, what has happened in Spokane, even through our school district, was a rezoning in our district. So you have students who live right across the street from a high school, but they are sent to one across town. And this came through the rezoning. So now you have schools that were already experiencing like hardship, and they were their communities, because how many of you understand what a Title I school is? Okay. Yes. So when you have a Title I school, you have to think about how are schools funded. They are funded through the tax dollars of the homes around that school. When you do not have home owners, or the property, the value of those homes are low, then that school is dependent upon government funding, accessing government funding in order to run. One thing that you will see in those higher poverty schools, they'll have a lot of resources, quote unquote, resources, and community like giving to the school. The issue with that, though, is the government can come in and take it away. We've seen that. We saw it happen just last year. We had College Success Foundation in our schools. Rogers High School, the school that I work in, is the only one who had College Success Foundation come back into the high school. But we had a lot of organizations that are no longer there, like Treehouse, who helped our foster kids in foster care. They're not there anymore. So you have the reliance upon government funding, federal funding, but they can at any time decide they're not going to do that. So then the consistency of resources is constantly being shifted. So with Title I schools, the homes, because of things like gerrymandering and redlining, those homes have a lower value. And so then those schools were dependent upon that resource. And what you'll see oftentimes, like you guys are bringing up, like our school, we're expected to play in sports. Other schools who have had access to resources. So we are competing against schools, teams who have been able to be a part of maybe club sports, which you have to pay for, but that means that their families have been able to afford to pay for that from very young age. So then you have, let's say, a basketball team who they have been playing basketball since they were 4 or 5 years old in club. Now they're playing against a school whose students, their families were never able to afford that. So their first introduction into sports would have been at that high school level or middle school level. So they're playing against these kids who already have a leg and an arm up on them. And the coaches have to work really hard to get them conditioned to be able to play against these other kids who've been playing for years and years. There's so much, and it just breaks my heart. As a teacher, it breaks my heart to see our kids go out there and fight and literally give their all on the field, on the court. But it's like, oh, well, because they're playing against people who have been doing it for years and years and years. So this is where I, as an educator, am just heartened by that. And then also academically, you can see, gosh, I hate that I'm talking so much. Academically, you can see the differences in socioeconomic. So we have socioeconomic status where it is higher in one area, where what's what's one of the things that we look at is that kids who have had a healthy breakfast, they come to school ready to learn. Maybe they have both parents in the home where one of the parents is able to stay and maybe make sure that they have all of the things that they need. Yes, whereas to these other students, they don't have that. So then we have to make sure we're offering that opportunity of get a healthy breakfast. I always use the acronym HALT whenever I'm asked to approach a student. And that is, I ask them, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And I can tell you that 98% of the time, we don't get past hungry. So these are just some of the things.
Thank you for sharing, Madam VP. And you bring up multiple valid points about how racism is interconnected, right? And one of the things that we're talking about today is structural racism. We brought that up when it comes to redlining and gerrymandering, and how it's affected houses and the racial wealth gap. And I also want to offer what April said in the chat. And so I'm going to read it for everybody. April, she said, something I learned in Atlanta is how often black neighborhoods face a kind of double jeopardy. When her cousin drove her through what was once a thriving Black community, she saw firsthand how this plays out. Many elders, often because of limited access to legal resources or knowledge about estate planning, never created wills or properly passed down their property. This happened in her own family. Her great-grandmother's home was eventually torn down by the city. Without clear inheritance, properties can fall into legal limbo. Decades ago, white flight left these neighborhoods to Black families with few resources or investment. Now developers are returning, seizing neglected properties and redeveloping them into expensive housing that the very families who stayed and struggled can no longer afford. First abandonment, then displacement. That's what she means by double jeopardy. Communities were left to fend for themselves, and now they're being priced out of the very places they preserved. Ooh. 100%. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for what you shared. We have one last part of our presentation that we'd like to start for everybody.
Okay, everyone, to end our meeting. Not to end our meeting, but to take a quick break from the discussion and kind of see how much you guys have been retaining from the discussion. We want to play a little game on Kahoot. You'll be able to access this Kahoot if you pull out your phone and you go to www.kahoot.it, and then you can enter that game pin in. And all participants will, well, not all participants, but the lucky few participants, some of y'all might walk away with a little something for your time. Nice. Shout out to Q.
K Money, reveal yourself. Just kidding. Don't do that.
We're going to give it another minute here, a minute or two. If y'all see any typos, just ignore those and keep it pushing.
And then you should be able to type in the.
Yes, or you can scan the QR code, yes.
Do you see your name up there? Okay. You see your name up there, you're good to go. Yeah. All right, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. Cool. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'll give it 5 more seconds. If you don't log on, log your name in, you might have to hold your peace. Okay. Cool.
All right, questions on the screen, and then you answer on your phone. Oh, this is not.
Stop. Oh, well,
That's all right.
am I
The question's still up there,
okay.
but you got 9 seconds to answer true or false.
I thought that just so fast.
The correct answer was true. So 3 of y'all got it. 5 of you, gotta go back to history.
Huh.
All right, Eddie, we see you. Gerrymandering is a recent practice. And then the 4 options down there. True or false?
Oh, can you move the? Oh, can I?
You should be able to drag it. Sound like somebody got dethroned.
I don't know how to do this. Oh. Yeah. Woman in tech.
Somebody knock Eddie out. Come on. Making it easy for him. What is redlining? We had the definition up there, y'all. Okay, y'all got that one. Let's see. Ooh. Eddie K Money and Jeb. What is cracking? Good job, y'all. Got it right. Jeb, you're on fire, but Eddie's still in the lead. Good job, Elbridge Jerry. All right. Do we have one more? What does packing refer to? Y'all better get your answers in. You got 3 more seconds. Ooh, this one got some of y'all. Yes. Good job, Eddie. And everybody else too. Good job. The North Carolina State Supreme Court reversed its ruling on policing gerrymandering in 2024. True or false? Could be false. Could be true. I guess we'll see which one of you got it right. 50-50. Half of y'all got it right. What are actions to combat redlining and gerrymandering? Ooh, this was a tricky one. It was all of them.
Any of them.
Or any of them. Okay, that helped y'all out. Miss Faye, Jeb, Shan, you rose in the rankings. What are the effects of redlining? Three more seconds. There we go. All right. Coming in third, Miss Faye. Please walk up to the stage for us. That's okay. Ah, dang, I missed the other two. Who's first? Eddie. Miss Faye, please walk up. Eddie and K Money, please come up to the front for the people. Is K Money in the room or online? Oh, K Money. Okay. We're gonna have y'all stand off there.
Because I was like, wait a minute.
You want me to do this first? Because my
Let's go.
All right, as you see, Priya is putting down some of our prizes. As Eddie, you won first. You get your pick. So these are right here. Let me explain it before I get. Oh, okay. We can pick. Oh yeah. The first. All right. As you being number 2? No, you're number 2. You get to pick.
Which one do you?
I mean, you could do that too. Would you like tickets? Would you like a care package? You can always trade afterwards if you don't like it. Can you help me? All right. So to end us out, I would like us to leave with a call to action. As we've seen tonight, gerrymandering and redlining aren't abstract issues. They directly affect our neighborhoods, our votes, and our future. But the good news is we're not powerless. One phone call to senators can represent the voices of 10,000 voters. That's why tools like 5Calls are so powerful. The app gives you a quick list of issues, your representative's phone number, and scripts that you can use to make your voice heard. As we wrap up, I invite you to take out your phone and download 5Calls. It's a small step, but when we all do it together, it adds up to a real change. This is how we can make sure our voices and are heard and our communities are represented. Also, a little tidbit about this app. It's actually quite easy. Like, I struggle with stuff like this because I don't like public speaking. I don't like having to speak. But the cool thing is, if you call after hours, you're able to leave a voicemail. So I mean, that kind of lessens the fear and anxiety that comes with having to speak on the phone with a person. So I really would suggest you to download this app because, like I said, it says one call equals 10,000 voters, simply based off the fact that people get very anxious when it comes to things like this. So it's a more effective way than like letter writing and postcards and stuff like that. So I would definitely implore you guys to download 5Calls. All right. Thank you so much. It was amazing talking with you all and, getting more insight into Spokane and gerrymandering and redlining. But thank you all. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, can she shout out to
Before you guys all leave, I just want to do a quick plug. The youth councils actually have it. Let me scroll. Okay. Obviously, there's a lot going on in this chat. Okay. On Saturday, September 27th, youth council is actually having an event with Kibi Anderson, and it's going to be called From the Streets to the Boardroom. And so we're going to be discussing code switching and flipping your switch and using your voice. That's actually going to be at Diverse Roots, which is located in Spokane Valley Mall from 1 to 3. So Spokane Valley Mall, Northtown, okay, Northtown. So that will be located there. If you know any youth that are interested in coming, please tell them to follow us at, what is our at? Guys, I got a lot going on. Okay. Follow us on Instagram, Spokane NAACP _YC, if you would like to see the latest, the greatest of what's going on with our council. Okay. And then one more announcement.
Also, if you all know any youth that are into poetry or sharing writing, I'm a part of a poetry collective, and we're bringing a new event to Spokane called Poetry for the Vibes. It's going to be at Jupiter's Eye Cafe on October 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. We're creating this platform to encourage youth of color to use their voice to get into the arts, things of that, and to find community in that way. So you can follow us on Instagram at p.f.t.v. Yeah, or you can scan the QR code, and I'll leave a flyer at the front for you all to RSVP, or to maybe even take a picture of the flyer and share it with some youth that you know, or just keep it for yourself to have so you are informed when this will be happening. Thank you for your ears.
And with that, I am going to officially adjourn this meeting at 7:50 p.m. Thank you all for coming. Be safe. Have a great night.
Lots of good jobs from the